So high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
Hello, welcome to everyone that's joining us. I hope that you can hear me loud and clear. I've got a new camera, so I hope that the picture looks all right. I'm looking at myself and I'm looking really washed out, so I do apologize for that, but I promise you I'm not a ghost. But yeah, welcome. So I was just sorting out my phone and everything. Hello, Maya. Good to see you. It's nice to be back. It's been weird not doing all this. But yeah, I'm going to do probably like a stream next week. Sort of maybe like going over my procedure and things like that, because it was actually really serious. In fact, like a lot more serious than kind of what I was thinking. But, you know, they have, fingers crossed, hopefully checking everything out. And I need to go for a checkup in sort of 6 months. So, but I'll kind of go into that more deeply because it's kind of a subject around sort of women's health and things like that I think is quite good for everyone to know. Oh, thank you, Maya. I look good on there now. Yay! Yes, I've got this like funky new camera that can do widescreen and things like that. So I need to sort of have a play around. This is like my first day of using it. But I'm going to bring Whitney up. Oh gosh, my computer doing all sorts. Here we go. Hey Whitney, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
Amazing. Good, thank you. Let's see. Just sort these out so that we're not echoing everywhere.
I'm glad to see that you're doing better. I'm happy to hear your.
Oh, sorry. If you wouldn't mind repeating that.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that you're doing better.
No,
and you recovered.
Oh, you know what? If it's not echoing, then I'm going to leave that because for some reason my headphone doesn't want to work on that. Okay. I couldn't hear you still. So sorry. Do carry on.
It's okay. I just wanted to, you know, say we're happy that you're back, and I hope that you recovered well and everything went okay. So that's good.
Yeah, yesterday was like a really good day at work because it was nice and sunny out, and I felt really good. Today I was like a bit more slow.
Yeah,
it's kind of going to go like that for a little bit. But yeah, sort of I've got tomorrow off to kind of properly rest and things like that. But yeah, sort of I'm feeling better this afternoon. Like this morning I had a bit of pain still. But yeah, this afternoon I've been a lot better.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you. Fabulous. So yeah, how have you been since it's been a little bit since we've sort of spoken? What's going on with your channel? I'm gonna put that
I haven't been doing much. Well, my channel is at Multi-Chick on YouTube. And I like legal stuff because I'm kind of a law nerd. And there's a story around that. I'm also kind of in my own set of recovery from some physical and mental challenges that I had recently. And on my channel, I read law cases surrounding the cult of Scientology, or I talk about kind of the legal maneuvering or the, you know, just their basic kind of tactics in the U.S. law field.
Yeah.
I really, I, I'm, I am a little disappointed that there's not more coverage on the legal side of things. There's been two very huge recent developments that I don't think have gotten a lot of airplay, but Tony
Right.
Ortega does a great job reporting on those things as well. I'm hoping, I am in recovery as well, so I'm trying to kind of get back on my feet. I'm trying to find a job right now. And so I'm hoping after that happens, I'll be able to read some more of these court cases. One thing that I did want to try to read is the decision of the 11th Circuit of Appeals for the Florida case for Baxter and Paris, where they
Ah,
upheld the religious arbitration clause. So, there's different states that are making different judgments in these cases. I think people are extremely confused about the arbitration clause, firstly, because I've heard many, many people say it's not a thing anymore, which is completely not true.
right.
So I'm hoping to kind of maybe dive into that a little bit more, talk about that a little bit more. And I also started a Substack because I think I'm better at writing than I am on video. So,
Oh,
so maybe
yeah.
I'll start writing some stuff. I also have been doing some kind of, I do a lot of research, so I have access to newspapers.com. So I've also been posting some interesting information about, what happened in the past with L. Ron Hubbard when he passed away. I've heard a lot of the stories around what happened in Scientology from the former Scientologists, but the never-in community, if you look at the newspapers, they were reporting a lot of these things coming from inside the cult early on, right? Even as early as 1986, that they knew Hubbard was a fraud and things like that. So the other thing is the cult of Scientology, their legal tactics never change. So if you can look back at previous legal cases and how they behaved with those previous plaintiffs or the state, then you can see how they're going to act in like Leah Remini's case or in Jane Doe versus Gavin Potter's case. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
I do on my channel. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I went to go and say yes, and then I had a sudden thing of air come out. Yeah, exactly. No, it's most sort of important. I think that there's sort of people that are looking into these cases.
Yes.
I think it's just a thing at the moment that like there's so much going off
Yeah.
in terms of sort of different court cases and things that it's hard for people to sort of distinguish kind of where they should have their attention.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
So yeah, so hopefully, kind of the more, that sort of gets put out, sort of then it will kind of draw people in.
And I have
more
to,
people covering it.
yeah, I'm starting to feel really passionate about this, probably because I just went through that treatment that was very, very successful. I'm starting to kind of find my own voice now. And, there's a quote in, Leah Remini's legal case that says it will be the US legal system that brings this cult down. And I think it's extremely important to realize that you might not understand our legal system, but it is absolutely going to be the thing that brings this cult down and takes away its tax exempt status from the IRS. And that is my opinion, right? I'm an outsider looking in. I don't really care about a lot of if people are getting along or not. It doesn't,
exactly.
as like Claire, you and I, it would bother me if we were not getting along, right?
Yeah.
But everybody else, I don't have much interest in following, and I have a very busy life, so I don't have a lot of time to follow all of the ins and outs that seem to be happening, quite honestly. So
yeah, exactly. No, I'm definitely picky about sort of who's like sort of content I watch, maybe what of that content I sort of watch, and sort of, kind of what will give me information, for sort of either just like my general day-to-day or, sort of inform me about other bigger things going on. So
I agree.
I get that totally.
Yeah.
I just want to say hello to Hans.
Hi,
hey,
Hans.
Good to see you. On my my return to the tubes. Right, wonderful. So your
Welcome
link
back.
is in the chat. Yeah, sorry. Oh, me. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to us. Yeah, this is what I've been missing. Right, and I'm just gonna quickly put up my little links and things like that. So yeah, if you've got a question, pop it in the chat. Waves to you. Oh, hello, poet. Welcome.
Hey, Brian.
Oh, wow, good to have you.
How's
here.
your yard? Brian's been working on his yard.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I saw some pictures of that.
Nice.
It was a shame that I was seeing it last week when I was like having to be in bed. Most inspired me. I've come back and we've had like loads of rain and sort of suddenly now loads of nice sunshine. And I looked at the cards again when I came home, and I was like, okay. And we'll see what my housemates ever do about it. So yeah. When it comes to my clean week, I might have to do the lawn. Oh no, he said it's been raining there. Haven't done as much as I'd like.
Oh,
well, at least you made the good progress before.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't. It will just kind of breathe new life into it. And yeah, unfortunately, it's one of them things with a living garden. You have to maintain it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, wonderful. So today's topic is around sort of endangered animals. I don't know. Whitney is hosting today, so I don't know like exactly the research that she's gotten, but think endangered animals, pythons, and the law, basically.
Yeah. That's it.
Let me know when you want me to pull up the slides, and I'll do that. But otherwise, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, today we're going to be talking about somebody who was arrested for importing handbags and purses and totes made of endangered species. So we can pull up, I think we can pull up the first slide, the one with the handbag. So the person we're going to talk about today, she created a company called Zynga, and she was based in Colombia. Her name was Nancy Gonzalez. And I think she started her company probably in the early 90s. So she's been operating for decades.
Wow.
Yeah, Nancy was based in... so this is the endangered fashion, and that's what I just called the slide, right? So this is one of her purses here. You can see that it is it's dyed animal hide. It looks like this hide it's probably what they call crocodile.
Right, yeah, it's looking a bit like that.
So it could be in that family. of crocodiles, alligators, but the caiman is also an animal inside of that set of reptiles or amphibians, I guess. And then that's what she was accused of exporting. She was accused of exporting from Colombia into the United States purses and handbags made of either caiman or python.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, if you go to the next slide,
Excellent.
yeah.
Um,
And
Oh,
this
here
is her. Yeah. So this is Nancy, and that's the company name, Zynga or Zoniga. Now she is 71 years old. So I don't think this is a recent
I was
picture,
going
but
to
if it
say,
is, she looks great, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so
Gorgeous
this
some
is a
work.
yeah, exactly. But that's her. She's she's from I think her hometown is Cali, Colombia. Now,
Right.
most of the people who are, I think a lot of Americans would know or associate Cali, Colombia with the Cali cartel, which was the large drug cartel that was present in Colombia a long time ago. This is the town of Cali, Colombia, so it's the same town, but she has no relationship to that Cali Colombian cartel
Right.
that I know of anyway.
Yeah.
If you Now, if you go to the next page, we can kind of see the handbags and types of things that she was wearing or making.
Nice.
So you can see that these are very high end. The middle top picture there, you can see it has either crocodile or alligator skin that is used as a tag for the inside of the purse, with its Nancy Gonzalez embossed into that animal skin. So that's a high degree of manipulation. It's a high
Yeah.
degree of embossing the leather. Obviously, there's not an alligator that natural shade of beige or pink or right. And so you can see it was high end. It came with below that you can see there's probably a black velvet bag that you put your handbag into. So these fancy high end designer handbags come with a lot of these accoutrement type of things. Some of her handbags, I think I saw one news article that said that some of her handbags sold for as high as $10,000 in the United
Wow.
States, which that's an expensive hand. It's not as bad as a Birkin bag, right? Which can be over $100,000, but
Exactly,
it's
but
still a
still.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot for a handbag. So, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
there's a lot of work that goes into making anything, but
yes.
there's a limit.
Yeah. So on the left-hand side, you see this woman. This is a photo that was taken from Poshmark, and I put the references in at the back. And this is a bag that's for sale secondhand. This bag does not have any of the caiman type of reptile in it. Wow. So it is very hard to decipher, what an alligator versus a caiman versus a crocodile versus another type of reptile would look like when it's just in a skin form, right? And on the far side, you can see these bags came in many different, very novel colors. So she was also very well known for her dyeing techniques of the animal, of the animal skin.
There's even
So
some at the top with Prince on.
yes, yeah. So if we go to the next page, we can just see a little bit more. These are just more
Oh,
examples
wow.
of her handbags, right?
Yeah,
Really
very
exotic.
bright.
Yeah, really exotic coloring. You know, the dyeing process here was probably quite extensive for these
Mm.
skins, right? Because you can see like there's an ombre green and yellow bag there
I was gonna
that's
say,
kind of
yeah.
it's kind of checkerboarded and it's very no, it's not my style. I've
No,
never been an animal person, animal skin or like even a cheetah print.
no,
I'm not into. But
exactly. But I will
yeah,
say, as like
mhm,
an artisan sort of craftsmanship
yes.
point of view, I do
Hmm.
appreciate the sort of um placing the sort of scales as they are in that
Yes.
way where it sort of goes down the middle.
Yes.
It's looking very symmetrical, which I appreciate. But
Yes.
it's equally sickening that
I know.
that's a real animal.
Yes, and that is a characteristic that you will see. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
upsetting, but
Mm,
you'll see it's the characteristic of the bag, right?
yeah.
The outside edge of the bag is usually like a very like you can actually see the back spine and sides of an alligator or a crocodile, right? If you look at
Mm,
the just like that is one animal,
yeah. Exactly.
right? Even those small purses are
Yeah.
that's one animal. So the bags, if you go to the next page,
Oh wow.
yeah. So this was not a one-off custom. She'll make you a bag to your specification haute couture type of thing. She was
Mm,
mass producing these bags um, from these various animal skins um, at mass scale, right?
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly mascara. That makes it even more sick. It's like
Yes. Yes. Now let's go to the next slide and we'll kind of start talking about Nancy and how it is that she got into all of this trouble.
mm.
So Nancy, I did a screenshot of a very good article on the website called Hip Latina. She did a
Oh
very
wow.
good breakdown. Her name is Sofia Aguilar.
Oh
Um,
cool. I'll make sure that I put that in the
yeah,
show notes afterwards.
yeah, she did a very good breakdown of exactly when she was arrested. Now, Nancy Gonzalez was operating in her home country of Colombia. Yeah. And so she was indicted by the United States of America for importing um, those species into our country. Okay.
Mm,
So um, she wasn't in the United States when the United States indicted her. But with the work of the Colombians, they extradited her to the United States. And
mm,
um, countries work together like this quite often with treaties and basic kind of like unilateral agreements with each other. So, these are laws that are on the books. They've been on the books for decades, right? She started by designing belts from skins, either reptile skins or snake skin in Colombia, and then she soon kind of grew her business. As we talked about before, she's known for her dyed animal skin bags, and I found quite a few photographs of celebrities carrying her bags, either on the street um, in passing, or on movie sets as well. Now, I didn't put any
Wow.
of those. Yeah, I didn't put any of those in there because it's hard to determine if they knew or right. So,
And that's something that I was going to
mhm,
say, like, because obviously she's been going on for so long.
mhm.
Did people
Yes,
think this stuff was fake? And that's why it's taken so long to take her down, do you
I
think?
believe they thought it was a different species, or
Right.
they just did not realize that it was
Oh, so it's the
illegal.
caiman itself
Yes.
that is
Hmm.
in sort of endangered as such,
Well, there are crocodiles
or
and
protected.
alligators that are protected,
Right.
but it was specifically, yeah, and what we'll get. So let me
Yeah,
just go on. Let me
I
go
don't
on
want to stop
because
there.
we'll get into the law.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool. That's cool.
so the bags were used in Sex in the City, right?
Oh.
The bags were worn by like I believe Sofia Vergara was
Mm-hmm.
a patron, and things like that. So the bags debuted in the United States in 1998 in
Wow.
Bergdorf Goodman, right? So that was
Oh.
she went straight to Bergdorf's, um, which is pretty impressive, right?
Exactly.
And that was in 1988. So it has been decades, right?
Mm.
Since she began her business. Now, this is interesting. What was happening is she would hire people
Mm-hmm.
to, um, each person would carry 4 handbags
Wow.
in their luggage. Um,
Mm.
and then they would fly from Colombia to the United States. And if they were stopped at customs and asked, they were supposed to say that they were gifts,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, Now, I think the largest thing that they were banking on, the initial location where they are checking luggage and things, customs officials probably don't know the difference between a caiman leather or a alligator leather, crocodile, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it could be that she just kind of got away with it just purely on, people not being able to identify what it was off first glance, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I would
Hmm.
say sort of, kind of, I remember, yeah, like sort of going shopping and sort of, high
Right.
street around sort of, like late 90s into 2000s,
Yeah.
fakes, sort of like
Everywhere.
fake, but like,
Hmm.
like sort of faux animal skin
Yeah.
was popular and very
Very.
good even then, like, because I would say from like the images before, the
Yes.
thing that really stood it out to me was that kind of um sort of ripple of the one
Yes.
that particularly the label, the ripple that you sort of had, that really showed it to me that it was real, because like you never see that in sort of like faux
No.
kind of
Mm-mm.
animal skin. But
Right.
the sort of patterning of the scales, I don't really know if you call
Hmm.
it scales in crocodiles, but sort of like that kind of that patterning
Hmm.
is, sort of always kind of replicated in sort of faux stuff. So yeah, like
Yes.
they'd probably just think it was that without,
Yeah.
I've never touched a crocodile skin, so I don't know like exactly how
Hmm.
how it feels. But like maybe even to feel, you wouldn't necessarily notice. I don't know, but
No, I don't think so. And I think they're all from this crocodile family of or group of animals. So they
mm,
probably look very, very similar, right? They live in the same conditions and they're amphibians, So uh I guess just be careful what you're buying,
mm,
right? You are
exactly, yeah.
right.
Because it's scary to think that, you know, like something real could be passed off as fake just to sort of get it through wherever, you know.
Exactly. Yes.
Border
So
control
she
be
would,
there.
yeah. So somehow, and she did have other people who were helping her that were also included in this indictment. And her company was in the indictment as well.
Right.
But so, you know, this is kind of, you know, it's like you hear of, you know, for drug smuggling, having mules, but these were mules for purses coming into the United States, right? And then when the person landed in Miami or the United States, then they would just go take the purse to the, I don't know, the handler, the person they were supposed to speak to, and then that purse would go into a store in the United States for 9,000, you know, thousands of
Wow.
dollars, you
Yeah.
know, with no customs, no, you know, import, export, you know, that sort of thing. So just that violation of the smuggling alone is a big deal for the US, right? We don't, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No customs fees is like, regardless of what it is.
Yeah. Especially for stuff that's this luxury and high end. These are not necessary items that are being smuggled
Exactly.
in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like
So
she's charging that much for them. Like it's not like she can't afford the customs. Like
exactly. So yeah, they were smuggled into it looks like they were smuggled into New York City. So she just took them directly to the showroom in New York, I guess it sounds like.
Wow.
And it's important to note that this is a violation of US law, but it is also a violation of Colombian law as well. Okay. And so this is the reason why the Colombian government was so helpful in allowing us to extradite her. And the Colombian government were the people who were responsible for initially arresting her and holding her. So it's good to work with our allies, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Then after her arrest, now she was arrested in 2022 for this. The company quickly went bankrupt and went under. And
wow.
this is unfortunate, right? Because Nancy's business employed or I think they said almost 300 people.
Wow.
And this is in Colombia, remember, 300 people in that Cali area. And most of these people were women, and they were dyers or, you know, cutters or, you know, things like that, right? So they were just people who were involved in the making of these products. Again, none of those people could have or maybe would have known that these were illegal. I doubt very seriously. Yeah, I really doubt it at all. So it's kind of interesting because she did operate like this for quite a while, right? It's not known if, you know, she was only smuggling certain types of purses, things that were, you know, extremely expensive only or something like that. So let's talk more about this. Like, why was this woman arrested for these purses? Right. And if we go to the next slide, we start talking about the actual laws that were violated, right? Now, this investigation, I love this is one of my favorite things about this whole thing is the investigation was performed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Come on, the fish.
So thank you for our rangers out there.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not rangers, I don't know, but our Fish and Wildlife Service are like looking out for the animals.
You know, if anyone's
That-
going to take down the fashion industry, it better be the animals. You know, like
Stay away from our fish.
yeah.
So she faced charges when she was initially arrested, and this is what was confusing to me, to many people actually, is she faced charges of smuggling crocodile handbags. Now, when they use crocodile, they're meaning it as a class of species. So like there's lots of different types of crocodiles within that group.
Yeah.
So some crocodiles, it's okay to make purses out of those guys.
Right.
Others you cannot, right?
Interesting.
Which is very confusing, you know. It looked like she had been really stepping up her smuggling of purses in around 2016 is when
Wow.
I think this investigation initially got rolling.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they've been watching her and kind of probably monitoring what's coming in and what's being bought regularly. There's two other co-conspirators, Diego Rodriguez and John Aguilar. Now, those two, they're two people who did help Nancy in her scheme, but they did not have nearly the sentencing that Nancy received.
Yeah.
So I believe Diego and John were sentenced to, Diego was sentenced to probation, I believe, supervised probation for a period of, I think, 3 years. John was fined $12,000, I believe. And you don't really know what these guys did. Most of the court records were sealed, and you have to remember that our case did not really start until Nancy reached the United States. So it's not really clear what investigators knew, when they knew it, and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
So she was extradited to the United States. All of these things take time and patience, right? But the extradition was, she probably knew it was coming, right? Because the Colombians had arrested her. It was not the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that came down and arrested her.
Yeah.
The Colombians themselves that arrested her. So I think she probably thought, I think she was probably trying to get either judgment in Colombia itself, where maybe possibly she would not be judged as harshly, or she was just trying to, not get caught, I guess.
Yeah.
So they did bring her back into the United States. Now, what is it that it is, what is the law, right? So if I think about things like different types of law, I can kind of cite civil codes, right? There's harassment codes. There are, assault codes, things like that. Now, what are these endangered species codes? Because that seems odd, right? That there's a codified set of laws that say, no, you cannot use this animal for a product, but you can use this one, right?
Yeah. Like what is classed as endangered and not? Yeah.
Now, first, let's go see what these animals actually look like. Let's go to the next slide, and you can see a caiman.
Right.
Really.
Oh, so caiman's like the smaller one. Okay.
And you see how they've got, you can see the profiles, which is, I have never seen this before. It's kind of cool. The alligator is the top one with his nose profile, then a crocodile, then something called an Indian
Girl?
Girial,
Yeah.
Girial, and then a false gavial, and then a caiman. So
Wow.
now those two, the Giral and the Garial, I have never seen those ever before in my life.
No.
I've never seen them alive, right? Or in the wild or live or anything.
Mm.
I think I have seen caiman leather before. It's
Right.
very it has this very interesting bluish sheen to it.
I was going to
In
say,
my
because he
opinion.
kind of in sort of, because I presume that's a caiman that you've got in the real
Yes.
photo as well. He's kind
Yes.
of got like an iridescence to him,
Yes.
which I'm guessing is sort of the bluishness.
Yeah. And it is more of an even coloring, I believe, throughout the
Right.
whole animal. Just
Mm.
this is my perception, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how these are smaller, right? And usually their head kind of comes up a little bit higher for their eye holes to come out of. They have
Mm.
more of a brow, I guess you would say. The caiman at the
Yeah.
very bottom. And then we can go to the next slide, and those are python.
Oh, yeah.
So python is a very unusual snake, and its skin is very, very highly prized.
Yeah, and I'm just because I feel like I've heard about this before, isn't it a thing that they like sort of stuff them like before they're gonna kill them, so then the skin stretches out?
Can stretch as far, yeah.
It's
I
just
didn't.
awful.
I know. I ran into, while I was doing the images and stuff, I ran into a couple of really like kind of disturbing images, and I was like, oh, I
Mm.
can't go into the processing side. I was
No,
like, I'm
yeah,
glad I'm doing legal.
yeah, no, and I get that. It's just, yeah, that it's sort of like the thing that always like gets me like with animals is like, because I've used like sort of cow leather before,
Yeah.
or hide, and and I'm very sort of, since I found out that there is such a difference between what's it called, byproduct leather and non-byproduct leather, that
Right.
animals can just be killed just for their leather, their like skin alone. It
Right.
horrified me. So
Yeah.
then, I'm very sort of particular about kind of where I get anything like that if I ever use it again.
Right. Yeah.
But then within that, I sort of have done research before, which I want to do a stream on at some point, particularly about leather, but also about Louis Vuitton, and
Right.
how they do their stuff. Yeah, and I remember coming across something once about sort of snakes in particular, and it probably was to do with pythons within that. Yeah, and it's like they like sort of a bit like kind of where you get like foie gras from Turkey.
Right.
They
Yeah. Or
like
duck. Yeah.
intentionally sort of stuff them with like food or whatever, just to make them really big, and then that's then when
Right.
they sort of
Yeah.
euthanize
It's
them.
to stretch it out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like you think from like like a snake like that sort of looks kind of small, how is that
Yes.
going to make a handbag? Well, they can swallow a cow, I think, sort of like
Yes.
like they're known to like have like eaten people before. So
Yes.
it's sort of, they can stretch out really big, but obviously they need to do that before they kill them, because once they kill them, it's they wouldn't be able to stretch them out that
Yes.
big,
Yeah.
from what I know
Because
anyway.
well, because the animal's no longer alive, so it cannot do that
Doesn't have, the
expansion and
sort of
compaction.
natural elasticity. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like you can see that these two pythons that I have here are beautiful snakes.
I was going to say, yeah, really lovely colorings.
I've always
Not that
liked
I'd ever
kind
want
of.
a bag made out of one, but
I don't
they are
either. I don't
beautiful.
either. But it's kind of, I've always kind of liked it because it's kind of looks to me a little bit like dot matrixy, like those old dot
Yeah.
matrix printers. So I always thought it was kind of cool,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
also think that the patterns are very, very interesting, right? The one on the right has this kind of white dot in the middle between each of the larger, yellow and black colorings. It's just a really interesting thing. Now
It is,
you can see with the alligators and the crocodiles and the caimans, their skin would be much more consistent in its patterning, right? If you go back to the
Sorry.
python,
It won't let me
no,
go
it's okay.
backwards. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh no.
And I'm worried I'm going to go forward even more. So sorry. It's not,
It's okay.
for some reason, it's not brought them up on the side this time. So I
Oh,
can't
okay.
just, yeah, and there's no like way
You
of
have an
just
arrow
being
button?
up there. Yeah, there's, I don't have it so it just, yeah, so the images are down the side as they usually are. It's just like one
Okay.
big image for me, as you can see on screen. So I apologize.
No
I've
worries.
gone one
It's okay.
forward because I want to try and go backwards, and it's just gone forward. So I'm
No
worried you're
worries,
going to
no
be
worries.
getting in because then
No
we'll
worries.
go off this one. So I apologize.
No worries. So you saw the pythons.
Oh man,
I was not able to find any of, they might have taken it off of the web, quite frankly. I was not able to find any of Nancy Gonzalez's Python products online, and I'm not sure
yeah.
why. They may have taken all the photos, or maybe they didn't even take photos of that because they knew it would be a big red flag, right? Cayman is a little bit easier to disguise because it could be alligator or crocodile, which are generally more sustainable species for fashion.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Joe, by the way.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Sorry, I was just stirring some, and now I'm going to go back in and see if I can go back to the start about images. Oh no, it's still going to be like that. Right, 2
That's
seconds.
okay.
How do I go back? Take that off. There we go. Oh, now I don't know where you've gone, but there we go. Right.
Oh, there's a woman. Okay.
Yeah. Right, there we go. Back to the cayman.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can see that cayman, most caimans are going to look exactly the same way, right? In coloration, you can see that the coloration of the cayman is very even from head to tail. But if you go to the python, the next one, these two snakes are very, very differently colored. So mixing and matching python skin would be very difficult to do the basic things like make an entire side panel of a purse from python. I don't know if you would want to do that or if you could do that, but it would be this pattern, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Now I wonder if possibly she was importing python products that were perhaps that were not purses, maybe shoes. I've seen that happen as well. Yeah. Or belts, right? She started with belts. So
I was going to say, yeah, that would be another ideal one, because then you wouldn't need to worry so much about the stretching out, because like for a belt, a snake So to be like really crude about them, but like a snake is sort of like the width of a belt, kind of.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. And it's not as, I don't know, the animal skin can also be very overwhelming sometimes for a person, right? So I just I think less is more a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So.
Less is young.
So if we let's go ahead and go to the next slide.
Cool.
And I think this, I'm so glad that you suggested that we do this, because this opened my eyes to this organization that I did not, or this treaty that I did not realize we were in. So there's a treaty between us, the United States, and the Colombians. And this treaty is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species.
Sorry. Oh, there we go. Oh.
Yeah.
Should have done that before. I didn't realize. Right. Okay. Sorry. I was trying to get the link. It won't come off.
Oh yeah, that is the link to this website. They protect over 40,000 species of animals, but also fauna or flora as well, right? Animals, plants, any sort of little creatures that live. And these species, either the flora or fauna, are all listed on this website. Now, you might think, oh, that's nice. That's great. Everybody pledged to be nice to the animals, right?
Yeah.
But, what is it really all about? Well, actually, this has a lot of weight behind it. And if you go to the next slide here, we'll kind of talk about the history of this organization or this treaty.
That's fine. So I've come out because I got that link, and now I need to find where. There we go. Where the slides have disappeared to. So they were at the bottom of my tabs before. Now it's at the top. Right. So.
Very fine. So this protection treaty for these endangered species was created in 1973. And there was a large convention that was called, and everybody agreed that, okay, these are the species that we're not going to endanger anymore. We're not going to accept any imports into our country of these species. And we also promise to regulate the export of these species from our own country as well, right? And at first, I believe it was a set of 80 countries. 80.
Wow.
A lot of countries. So you can see, this is just a screenshot of their brochure that has more information on it, that blue page. But that's kind of like the first, treaty session that, the first one, and then the current ones are still in session, are still going, or still meeting and everything now.
Wow, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat, so if anyone wants to go and check it out, they can.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And then also so the treaty was signed. They came to an agreement, 80 different countries. And then this treaty went into force just 2 years later, on July 1st. And so that's when the treaty went into enforcement. Now, since this treaty was signed with all of these countries in the world back in the 70s, lots of additional things have been done to kind of protect species in other ways as well. And you can see one of those programs or side shoots is this International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime, which I did not know about. So
No.
this is also another international, this would be covering things like, trafficking lions or, trafficking
Wow.
ivory, right? Or
Very good.
uh,
Yeah.
those sorts of things, right? And then also it also goes to, other things as well, protecting, types of, like avocados are regulated, from being shipped
Oh,
into or out of, here from Mexico, things like that.
wow.
Yeah. So, and that would be considered, flora. So,
Mm. I never thought of
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So if you go to the next page, everything in green is a country or a, party that
Mm.
participates in this agreement. So
Wow.
everything that is green.
That's amazing. There's so
Yeah.
few that aren't.
Yeah. So there are a few, and like I said before, they protect over, I think, 40,000 different species of
Wow.
flora and fauna. The city, so on here, there's a few countries that are not there, not participating. Um,
Mm.
Countries like, let's see, South Sudan, Turkmenistan, Haiti, North Korea
Mm.
is, and Western Sahara, right? So just a few countries where, locales that are not participating in this big, huge worldwide treaty to
Wow.
protect endangered species. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I thought that was pretty amazing too. It's not something you hear a lot of. Um,
No, like for it to be so worldwide.
yes, yeah. And it is, it looks like it's something that everybody can agree on, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
nice. If we
Yeah.
can agree to
It's
protect some of
one
our
thing.
endangered species.
Exactly.
Yeah, so um, now some other things that occurred, let's see. Oh, did I take out? Oh, yeah. So let's just talk about, if you want, we can go back to either the resources page or one of the photos pages, because I just want to talk about the case and the what happened with the legal system and stuff.
Oh, that's fine. Or I can take it
Hmm.
off altogether if you want. I can stop
Okay.
sharing.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so
Kind of
let's talk
suits
about,
me not looking at sort of what's looking at what everyone else can see on the screen, and I'm just like got some random screen share in front of me. So hello.
so like I was saying before, it looked like what she was scheming, or she was, she had done, right, was she had hired people to, take these purses, and usually only one person would take up to 4 purses, and then fly with them. Uh, of course, Nancy would pay for all of the expenses for them to go to fly from Colombia into New York City with these purses. I think I told you that there were 2 other people who were arrested. Now, what happened here just recently was, the reason why we're talking about this now is Nancy was sentenced, in federal court, and she was sentenced to prison. And
Wow.
this has been quite shocking for quite a few celebrities and
Yeah.
celebrity designers. Now, not every caiman and not every python in the world is endangered, right? Um, if you look at those species protections on the site's websites, you'll see that these are specific things. And then even if they are endangered, some of these countries will allow certificates, right? So
Right.
it could
Yeah.
be, yeah, it could be that the United States allows a certificate for a quota of Cayman bags to come into the United States.
Mhm.
But you would be sure that all of the tariffs, all of the taxes, all of the import customs fees, whatever, would be added on to those prices, right? So she was trying to skirt the law for her own profit, I believe. It's
Mm.
kind of, I mean, why else would somebody, I guess, I can't think of another reason for somebody to kill endangered species and then try to ship those products into the United States other than money, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So she was, let's see, she was arrested in Cali on July 8th of 2022.
Right.
And so then she was sentenced with crocodile smuggling, which is a large kind of catch-all, sounds like a catch-all sort of thing. Now,
Mm.
when they did the investigation, that was performed by the U.S. Wildlife or U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And then she was extradited into the United States for that violation of the Endangered Species Treaty. So when she went to be extradited, she was not charged with crimes XYZ. She was charged with violation of a treaty for
Right.
extradition.
Yeah.
And so just recently she was jailed and she went into prison. She pled guilty finally
Right.
after her arrest. She was extradited into the United States. It looked like in November of 2023, she decided she wanted to plead guilty because I think she was probably seeing the evidence that was coming back from,
Mm.
that, oh yeah, there's no question.
Exactly.
And so I thought it was interesting. She did try to delay sentencing. It looked like she knew what was going to happen. She put in a couple of different responses in opposition. I'm looking at the docket right now
Oh, yeah.
directly. So let's talk about what was adjudicated or adjudged, right? As to the company itself, the Zuniga, and remember, this is a company that is doing business in the United States. The company gets probation, right?
Mm.
And these counts, they were found guilty under 3 counts, and each count the probation runs concurrently. So they'll have 3 years of probation for each of the 3 counts, and that 3 years for all of the sentences will run together. So
Yeah.
at the end of 3 years, the company can, if they would like, well, they did go bankrupt, but they could reincorporate and, keep going again. Now, as to Nancy, Nancy's full name is Nancy Teresa Gonzalez de Barberi.
Mm.
And this is kind of brutal, right? She had 3 counts against her. And for each count, she was sentenced to 18 months in prison.
Wow.
Okay. So let's see, 18 months in prison. Because she has 3 counts, each count is 18 months in prison, but they're allowing her to run it concurrently. So she'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
in prison for 8 months, and she'll serve the full sentence concurrently. Now, she will also have supervised release after that for 3 years.
Wow.
So after that, she will have to go in and probably have some sort of check-in with, I don't know, somebody for supervision, right? Just to, usually it would, if it was probation, it would be a probation officer, but this is called supervised release. Yeah, and so that's it. She will be serving in, she was also fined $300.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it seems like so sort of like the supervision for 3 years afterwards.
Yeah.
Not like is a lot, but you know, that sounds like it's a heavy sentence, because you don't necessarily hear about murderers having that.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
like
surprised,
a
actually.
$300 fine. That's
Yeah.
shocking. Like,
yeah. So the max allowable time on the sentencing was 25 years. So it could have been much worse, right? So they had, so, you know, she did get off somewhat lightly. And I think in US federal court, sometimes people feel like sometimes people get off a little bit more lightly than they would in state court. But in any case, you know, 18 months in federal prison is still 18 months in federal prison. So, you know, she probably is happy she's not in Colombia serving time and is in the United States instead, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now, she did have, let's see, 2 other people who were charged with her, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the company, we heard what the company's sentence was just the 3 years of probation, but the company is no more anyway. The second person was Diego Mauricio Rodriguez Garibaldi, or Garibaldo. He was probably just a helper, and he was sentenced to, let's see. Yeah, supervised release.
Okay.
For 1 year for all 3 counts. And I think he is a Colombian resident. So that might be why he has that sentence. And then, the other person was John something or another. But John was the guy who was fined $12,000. I'm thinking possibly, I think possibly John was just a facilitator on the New York end. So,
yeah.
So that's interesting. Now that's out of Miami, and it's nice to know that the Southern District, you know, the Florida courts down there are taking these wildlife protection, you know, these laws seriously.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's very nice to know.
Exactly. Someone's got to stick up for the animals.
Yeah. So that was kind of everything that
cool, that was amazing.
About.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions,
enjoyed that.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few things coming up in the chat, so let me go through. So Joe said early on, the caiman is protected under the same international laws and treaties as certain endangered woods. It's called cities, which is obviously sites, which obviously you brought up. I deal with the paperwork for her work. Don't use endangered wood though. That's really interesting.
It is interesting.
Python was used on various string instruments as a vibrating membrane, like a banjo string, especially Chinese instruments like the uru and the king. I'm presuming I'm maybe
That's cool.
pronouncing them about right. But yeah, that's really interesting. I
That's
never thought about
interesting.
it for. I obviously, like you think of it for
Mhm.
sort of a drum kind of top membrane, but not
Yeah.
for sort of stringed instruments.
Yeah.
Nowadays, synthetic alternatives are used, which is really good to
Mhm.
hear. So I always think that's sort of interesting, kind of things, sort of like natural elements that might have been used as sort
Yeah.
of kind of historic ways,
Mhm.
um, that are now then sort of being changed for synthetic.
Mhm.
Obviously, not that we're ones for sort of promoting synthetic, but obviously when it saves an endangered animal, sort of there is
Yes.
kind of an ebbs and flows. It sort of depends what the synthetic has gone through to sort of be manufactured. In my sort of
Yes.
eyes, is kind of because obviously oils and plastics and things like
Exactly.
that, as they're coming out of the ground, being made, and then sort of after kind of use, are just
Mhm.
as harmful to animals. Whereas sort of obviously there are synthetics that are made of kind of recycled things. So
Mhm.
that's when I don't mind recycled kind of plastic going into things, because
Mhm.
into things like that, because it's kind of it's being sort of its kind of output is being used in something more useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because actually I got some sunglasses a little while ago that are actually made from the fishing nets, like discarded fishing
Oh,
nets. Yeah, they're really
that's
nice
cool.
actually. Um,
Sweet.
Jill also
Yeah.
says that animal print always looks tacky to her. Reminds me of Pat Butcher, which for those of you that aren't in the UK, go and watch EastEnders if you can. But it has to be the old sort of early 2000s into the 90s.
Yeah, I've never been one for the animal prints, but I know people who love it, right? And it's just a preference, right? Some people like that and others don't.
That's the
I
thing, like I've got
Mhm.
certain bits that are, but it's
Yeah.
I don't sort of get it because it's always the animal print. It's like I kind of like the patterning, or
Yes.
sort of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But equally, I kind of prefer more the ones that don't look so real. It's sort
Yeah.
of
Yes.
like sort of the real colors and things like that. It's like when it's looks a bit off, I'm like, well, yeah, then I'm fine with that, because it looks like it's not trying to be the
It
real
doesn't
thing.
look real. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's the thing too, is it's kind of amazing, because of there is a lot more awareness about animal cruelty now than there was before. Um, People don't wear fur coats out in
Mm.
public at all anymore, right? Because there used to be things that would happen. And hopefully we can start because real fur is pretty easy to recognize when it's out on the street, or, you see somebody with it. I
Yeah.
don't get upset about it, right? But it it would be, these are hard things to determine, right?
Mm.
These purses, I remember very clearly being on, I think it was Canal Street in New York City in the 80s and 90s, and I'd bought like all kinds of fake stuff, I'm sure. You know what I mean? It's like they had watches and purses and all the
Yeah.
Pradas and Donna Karan, and so, it's just like there's always going to be the lure of the knockoffs, right? And
Yeah.
then, but let's try not to, you know, let's not knock off something that's endangering animals, or, let's not try to like emulate that bad behavior, right?
Yeah,
Maybe we don't need purses made out of the hides of other animals, right? I don't know,
exactly, definitely.
So
Yeah.
I
It's
do
it's
love
just
leather though. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. But like I say, sort of there is a difference between
Mhm.
sort of leather, like where like the animal's being fully used versus an animal that is just being killed just for that, and I just
Just
think
for that.
it's such a
Mhm.
waste, like when you can go to like feeding people and then you're just using like the leather is like the byproduct from that.
Yeah, so much waste. Yeah.
Versus, oh, I look at this sort of, stylish whatever made from something that was just killed for that, is
Yeah.
just sad and sort of and a waste really, sort of what like why are you so sort of enthralled by it that
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of that's like what you're living your life for, it's
Yeah.
sort of it's sort of, and we'll have to do a stream on this as well, like sort of the Birkin bag itself and kind of the lore around that and things is, sort of in a way also like sort of how are these things allowed to cost so much, sort of like it's because, and some of that is down to demand, these companies will put their
Right.
prices up even more sometimes.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
people still go crazy for it, and it's sort of that thing of why, and it's sort
Yeah.
of obviously, and also sort of the designers and things will just whack a price on something and be
Yeah.
like, well, it doesn't matter why it's that price because people will just buy it, and then they
Yes.
do, and it's just like prove them wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then also, I want to sort of go back to when you said about sort of the company going into bankruptcy
Yeah.
and employing sort of a lot of
The
women,
women. Yeah.
potentially sort of mostly women. And that's kind of something that always sort of gets to me through kind of my sort of sustainable ethical journey within sort of fashion in particular. And kind of I celebrated Topshop going under and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, and had friends who had worked I'd always in the
Oh.
industry just been sort of a shop floor level. I say just,
Mm-hmm.
but sort of
Mm.
I was never able to sort of get behind the scenes because I asked too many questions. I clearly seem like I'm
Oh no.
someone wants to actually make change, so they won't allow me to make change. So sort of like, so I've never been in those sort of areas necessarily.
Mm.
There's a few jobs that has allowed me to get in there a little bit, but anyway, when Topshop went under, or Arcadia as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
um I know that sort of Americans will mostly only know Topshop.
Mm-hmm.
um I celebrated it. Yeah, a lot of my friends who had worked in sort of the behind the scenes, knew people that worked particularly in that company, were like devastated. Oh,
Yeah.
because like they've lost their job. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but like
Yeah.
they were working for that company, and sort
Yeah.
of it's like, people even about sort of garment workers in India and things, it's like, oh no, that's so we don't want to take down that factory, or we
Right.
don't want to like boycott that whole brand because
Yeah.
like think of all them jobs, and it's like, no, because sort of they're hiding behind the fact of, oh, look at us, we employ women. There's been something
Yeah.
recently
They're
with again,
exploiting.
is
Yeah.
like, is another one that I want to sort of cover as a
Yeah.
topic, is using women, female empowerment
Mm-hmm.
as like a marketing tool.
Yeah.
Um because there was something that came up on my Instagram earlier, and it was like all these kind of slogan t-shirts on the runway of all things, being like sort of like female empowerment, sort of sisterhood and things like that. And and it just sort of goes back to that thing of why sort of like kind of why are people hiding behind that,
Yes.
sort of these designers and things, and why do we allow them to do that? Because it's sort of the thing should be, she employed all these women and and exploited their craftsmanship,
Yes.
and sort of artisanal skills, for this sort of illegal product. It's sort of because at the end of the day, sort of they are like losing their jobs, but sort of like with anything else, in kind of even within fast fashion, it's like they're using their skills and exploiting them skills for their own gain, so it's sort of like that's where the empathy should be, not on just like they've lost their job, because actually from what's been proven in sort of Bangladesh and India is actually these artisans, garment workers, are really resourceful, and actually have come together and have made a lot of co-ops now that sort of a lot of like small brands are using, up to like sort of some bigger ones as well, but they feel more empowered within themselves to get a proper wage.
Yeah.
So it's sort of I kind of feel like sort of that sort of should be put out a lot more, in these it's sort of like, and it's kind of obviously worse as well, because obviously she's like a female designer. What is she doing, sort of doing that to her workers? So
and well, I mean, you are, you have sewn, right? And I'm sorry that sewing that caiman hide would be difficult work. You would have to have somebody who knew really what they were doing. Because that's that hide, it's just, sewing denim is hard enough, but try think about
is
sewing
exactly
that caiman.
where I was going to go with it. You think
you
of
really
like
have to
the
have
stiffest
talent.
denim, and that's what
Yes.
that would be like.
And we saw on that label too, just the thickness differences in the hide would make sewing anything on it really very difficult, because you have this you're always on a bumpy surface, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's so sort of big up to all the artisans, particularly the women, but sort of anyone that has a craft and kind of uses their hands, and sort of should be being paid better, basically.
Absolutely. Hopefully those women, hopefully those 300 people were able to, find somebody else locally who maybe does the same thing, but legally. Right. And then, because the dyeing process and the construction process for those purses is no joke, right? Especially if you want to charge $10,000. If you want to charge $10,000 for a purse, there are no loose threads, no wonky seams, it must be perfect, right? So
definitely.
This was a lot of fun to talk about.
Definitely. Joe is saying that rosewood and ebony, as in sort of types of wood, are covered under sites as well, which is really interesting.
Amazing.
Can only export the finished product of Indian rosewood from India, which leads to silly games where exporters make useless products which just happen to be made of rosewood. So thinking then, are they then being taken apart to then be made into something else? That is quite ridiculous. You know, what a waste.
That's so silly.
Wow.
But I can see what, here's a rosewood,
Like
pedestal,
chest of drawers or
right?
something.
It's
Yeah,
just,
you know.
it's just like a block of wood. We're calling it a
Yeah.
pedestal. So
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
people
Yeah.
are
Or
so
like
creative in their
a
criminal
jewelry
ways.
box that doesn't have a lid that opens, but
Right.
it looks like
False
it from the outside.
bottoms.
Yeah.
Secret. Press the button and then cough 3 times.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Oh, craziness. And then Joe just asks, can I share some of the names of the co-ops? Be good to support them. In very rare cases, I can buy
I
them
bet
you.
you.
Yes, exactly. I will do maybe I'll sort of put together like a community tab, and then we'll do also a stream on it. Of kind of sort of brands that I know that sort of use the co-ops. I will say I am one of them. I have notebooks available on my website. For anyone that wants to have a plain paged A6, I think it is, little notebook that's covered in my offcuts. So the artisans,
nice.
they take my offcuts and they make them into the notebooks.
That's cool.
So yeah. And then but yeah, I'll have to sort of check out, because I have kind of heard things on podcasts and things, so I will put together a list and then share that. So
Amazing.
don't worry, just do remind me if you don't see it. It's one of them things, like I was really hoping that last week I would get like a lot of research for like many episodes done, and it just like sapped all my energy. It's really
You needed to rest and
I
relax.
know
You
I
needed to
deserve
rest.
the rest, but yeah, it's
That's
hard.
good.
Hard to accept it.
No.
But thank you
I
so
know.
much, Wingy. That was so fascinating.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. Maybe we'll do more fashion legal drama.
Oh yeah.
That would
That's
be
I want to
fun.
do so much. Yeah, definitely.
It would be good.
But yeah, because there's been sort of, I mean, I shared with you sort of a few different things that was going around.
Yes.
And one that I would like to go into, someone has actually made a little docu-film now. I don't know when exactly it's coming out, but it's on the cult of fast fashion, which is something that I've always called it.
Yes.
So kind of considering our like Scientology sort of connectedness in terms of sort of interest in sort of cults and things, that maybe that would be quite a good sort of spin off as well.
Yes.
So yeah,
Sounds good.
so we will see what we do next. I will prepare one for next week. I haven't even thought about what I'd go into, but sort of maybe it might even be sort of the fast fashion one. We will see. I'm trying to sort of organize some with some other people to carry on my fashion revolutionist series.
Oh, yes.
Remember what I'd called it then. Because obviously last month was actually the week that I was off was Fashion Revolution week.
Yes.
But obviously because I wasn't around, I want to sort of extend it to sort of being over this month, and and sort of potentially sort of like year round. Really, it's something that's really close to my heart, but it's always like a funny week when something always seems to come up, so I'm never really around for it. So yeah. But there's a bit of mending May month now that it's May. So maybe even I'll do something around that next week. And sort of kind of delve into kind of the origins of mending and things like that.
Yes.
So yeah, we will see. I will I've got tomorrow off, so I'm gonna sort of do some bits then whilst I rest in bed because I've had like
Good.
2 days back at the studio, and yeah, it's it's a
Take
slight
it
shock.
easy. Yeah.
Thank
Take it
you.
slow. Take it easy. Your health is important.
Yeah,
So don't rush it.
exactly.
Thank you
Fabulous.
so much for
Well,
having me. I
that's all
appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you for being here. Oh,
And
and
I'm happy you're back.
oh, thank you. Yeah. Also, I will say hello to my wonderful new subscribers of recent. Please go and subscribe to Whitney.
Yes, thank you.
She definitely does deserve it, and she's, her stuff is really interesting, and it sort of might just help you kind of before you potentially, not willingly, but potentially sort of end up in a situation that is a little bit culty.
Yes.
Hello, Brad.
Hey,
Wonderful to
Brad.
see you. So yeah, sort of I think there's you're never too beyond anything to learn about cults and kind
I
of
believe that too.
control. So yeah.
Yes.
So that's that, and obviously in sort of like the legal side around it as well. And I want to also say that if many of my new subscribers have potentially come from our latex stream, which now has over 3,000 views. So like, go us with the going viral on
Wow.
on latex.
That makes me so nervous, man.
It's all right. They literally watch like 3 minutes and then go off. So they just they see our my intro and then like realize we're not sitting on screen in latex.
Yeah,
so,
like
yeah,
it was like Brad was like, I thought there was gonna be 2 ladies with latex. Like, no, we're just talking about it. We're not actually in it.
Exactly. So yeah, so do go and check out that stream if you haven't. It's very interesting,
It is very
even though
good.
we're not sitting there in latex.
It's very good.
So my idea was good. Next latex stream, wear a latex catsuit. Yeah, I'll do that whilst I'm using the whip.
I'll observe from afar. I'll call the police if you need any help. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. That was a fun stream. Maybe we could do latex too.
Yeah. I don't know what else there is to do, but yeah, definitely. We'll because to be honest, I was kind of thinking as a little milking of it, the sort of a latex versus like PVC would be a good one to sort of compare and contrast. Considering obviously there is also like synthetic latex as well as obviously the natural that we found out. Versus like a PVC, which is only synthetic. So and because I'm presuming that isn't what synthetic latex isn't. PVC, because it didn't come up in any of my research. So there clearly are 2 different things. So there are many possibilities.
That would be interesting.
I was joking with my mum and dad that we could do a crossover with latex and cotton, just as like any way of using latex in the title. But I was like, nah, it's not really such a crossover.
But if we get latex Python, we're gonna blow up the internet, right? Because Python is a programming language.
Yeah.
It's also a snake that a lot of people like, snakes that are pythons.
Yeah.
So Python. Maybe we'll have another viral video on our hands. Who knows?
Exactly. We'll see. Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We will sign off and see you next week. Now that I know that this new camera works,
Yeah.
I'm gonna see when I can sort of get another one at some point. So if anyone wants to donate any money to my buy me a coffee, please do. But yeah, because I would like to have literally, I'm gonna only keep this camera here so that I don't have the issue that I had with the last one. And then I want to get another one to just have that in my studio, because I would like to do more sort of even just sort of like kind of streams, not necessarily where I'm like talking to the camera, but just that's kind of showing live of me working, but a bit more sort of in the corner of my stream of my studio, sorry, rather than kind of some of the close-up ones that I do have been doing. So we will see. But yeah, because I'm liking this camera, so that's all good.
Good. I like it too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. A latex python sounds really naughty.
Yes.
We're setting out. We're setting out. Right. Wonderful.
Python.
Yeah,
Python.
exactly. Oh, and then that's what I wanted to say as well. I've got a stream scheduled for the beginning next week. Keep an eye on it because it might change. It's with a woman called Zoe who has a podcast called Check Your Thread. I think I updated the show notes on it, so do go and find it out, and you can sort of go and see what she does. She's really interesting, and that's going to be one of these like fashion revolutionists
nice.
chats that I do. But she hasn't quite gotten back to me about, because we had to change it from doing it this week. She hasn't quite gotten back to me as to whether next week is okay with her. So it might end up jumping to like the week after. So just keep an eye on that one. But we will definitely be doing one next Wednesday between us, me and Whitney. And I will see about if I do one on Monday about the procedure that I went through. And then yeah, because then I'm going on holiday, so I've got next week and then the week after, and then I'm going on holiday for a week. So you know, just as a little bombshell.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing that. So yeah, we'll kind of get a few in, and then I'm going to have a week off, and then I'll be back again. So
Sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. Summertime, you know, summer holidays. So we'll see. But have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and we will see you all later.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Oops.